Kalkadosh, Boker Or, Bekiim Bahalacha 6, day 23, page 64. We are on Siman 158, Halacha Yudalid, okay, which is Halacha 14. So it says like this, Afal pi shenatal kadin, right? V'kiven lenetilah hamachsheret. That means even though you came and you did Netillat Yadayim properly, right, and you had the kavanah to do Netilah, he says, Im kol zeh tzarich hu lishmor ta'arat yadav b'machshavto v'kavanato. You still have to have the machshavan kavanah to keep your hands pure. Shemiziach dato mishmira yadav zman merubah. Because if you did have a sechadat for a long time, afal bishenu yudeh, that means even though you don't know that it touched anything, in kozet tzarich chazor v'litol, you have to do netilat yadayim again. באופן שצריך להיות משום, right, משים דתו וכוונתו על דרת ידיו, כל משך סעודתו. That he has to pay attention, the entire סעודה, and we're going to explain it in סימן קוף סמך ד'. וניסיח דתו משמירת ידיו, יחזור ויטול ידיו ברכה. You have to do another ברכה again. So there's an incredible halacha, meaning you came and you did Netilat Yadayim perfectly. And what? You have to do it again. That's a good trivia question, right? When is it possible that you did Netilat Yadayim properly, you did everything kadat v'chadin, and you still have to do again Netilat Yadayim with a bracha? So, eseh chadat, bekitzu. Eseh chadat.
What does it mean? What do you have to think about?
We're going to speak about it. 164. Kuf samech dal. Okay? Fine. If you look in the footnote 15, it says this is the ruling of the Ben Ish Chai. He explained the significance according to the Kabbalah that by remaining conscious of keeping one's hands pure, you drive away the kochot haraot, the forces of evil. So mamash, it's like a Kabbalistic concept when you have your mindset and you're paying attention, your hands are pure and clean, that's what drives away the evil forces. And this is the meaning of the pasuk in Kohelet, Lech le'echol b'lachmecha, go eat your bread, enjoy and drink, right? Right, and drink your wine with a good heart. Right? Since that's the pasuk that we say on Motzei Kippur. Right? He says the Hebrew word besimcha, with joy, has the same letters as simcha and machshava, is the same thing. Simcha and machshava, same letters. Just rearrange them. So he says with a conscience thought, therefore, exactly. So he says, therefore, the pasuk is teaching us that through thinking while we eat and through concentrating, Hashem will become pleased with our actions. So he's happy with us. Okay? Okay, then he says performing a mitzvah without the concentration and on the other hand is not pleasing Hashem. The name of Hashem is appearing in this pasuk is Elokim. So he says this is because people's thinking takes place in the brain and his concentrating takes place in the heart. So the Hebrew words for brain and heart, moach and lev, have the same numerical value of Elokim. Okay? Moach and lev ze oto davar kemo Elokim. Oto numerical value. Equals Elokim. Moach and lev, exactly. So you need your moach and lev. So he says the acts of eating bread and drinking wine are metaphor for Torah study. Because remember, the Torah is compared to bread and wine. So he says, so therefore it's just like the Torah study is thought is worthless. So he says, so too the act of eating without conscious thought of purity is also harmful even. Just we must not forget to guard our hands while eating. We have to also not forget to the Torah that we learned. Okay? Fine. Next, Tedvav. לנטילת ידיים צריך שיהיה בכלי רביעית מים מכונסים במקום אחד. So when you do נטילת ידיים, you're going to need a minimum of a רביעית in a cup. Or in one place that is together. Meaning you cannot come and do Netilat Yadayim from a place that does not hold a Revit. So imagine I take a shot glass, but a 1 ounce shot glass, and I come and I start trying to do Netilat Yadayim. Now I'm going to say, yeah, but I'll use it 50 times. It doesn't matter. You need a Revit in one shot to be inside of this utensil, whatever the utensil is that you're using. One Revit is just under 3 ounces. No, that's a blindera. You understand? That's what, that's 15 ounces? Yeah, that's what. That's 15 ounces. I don't even know how many ounces this cup is. This cup is much bigger than. Does it actually say in the bottom? No. It does. No, 14.
18 ounces. No, 14 ounces. You're right.
14 ounces.
Yeah.
14. Yeah, 14 ounces. So imagine it's just under 3 ounces. So it's like less than even a third of this cup. Fine. Then it says, "Uldad maran shulchan aruch, hashofech revit mayim vatachat al shtei yadav, or shofech revit mayim al kol yad v'yad, and tzarich lidol yadav shte pamim, v'da b'netila achat." וישכתבו שאבקה שנוטל ברביעית שישפוך מים שניים על ידיו. So he says, so basically like this, according to Miran Shulchan Aruch, if you're going to do a revi'it of water bevatachat in one shot on the two hands, or a revi'it on every single hand, so you don't have to do it twice. Meaning you don't have to do Netillat Yadayim 2 times, right? Because once you did it once, it's already enough. But some people say no, that you still have to do it twice. But according to the Arizal, right, you need the 3 times. ואפילו כשופך רביעית מים בבת אחת על ידיו, you also need 3 times, וכן יעשה, that's what you should do. Right? This is, sorry, וככה יעשה, this is what you should do. ייקח הכלי ביד ימין, you take the כלי in your right hand. ימסרנו ליד שמאל, you're going to give it to the left hand. כדי להכניע השמאל, in order to subjugate, or in order to humble the left, כעבד הנכנס לשרת את אדונו, like an עבד which is going to come in to serve his master. ואז שופך יד שמאל לימין 3 פעמים בזה החזה, ומניח הכלי בארץ וימין יקחל מעליה מעל הארץ וישפוך ממנו על יד שמאל 3 פעמים בזה החזה. אוקיי? And גם ייתן יד שכל מעשה ביד שמאל also is going to start with the יד ימין. Okay, so he's also going to do it with the יד ימין as well. Okay, let's continue. So this was, look in the footnote 16. So basically what it's coming to tell us is that even that according to the Kabbalah, you have to do it 3 times, and that's what we have to do as well. So you come, you do it in order, you pick it up, you fill it up with your right hand, you pass it to the left hand, then you start, right? And that's what you're going to do. So you do, he says, from the Yamin, 3 פעמים בזחזה, right? Then you put it down, okay? And then you ישפוך ממנו על יד שמאל 3 פעמים. Interesting why you have to be maniach hakli ba'aretz.
You have to pick it up with your right.
Exactly. Because we don't want that you're passing it from the left to the right. Yeah, you understood? Meaning like this. You pick it up with the right hand, right? You fill it up, yeah? I'm purposely giving it to the left hand. When I give it to the left hand, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, correct? I'm pouring it, but now I have to put it down.
That's how we do it.
You understand? I cannot 1, 2, 3 and then pass it. No, they wipe it just in case if it got wet or whatever it is, and now you're putting the water on that. But that's something else. No, here we're talking about though, but you shouldn't pass it back. You put it down. And now when you put it down, right, now you pick it up with the right hand, and then you pour on the left hand.
Okay,
because we don't want you passing back from the left hand to the right hand. Because if you pass back from the left hand to the right hand, now you're doing the exact opposite of what you did at the beginning. The beginning, you pass the right to the left to strengthen the right on the left. But you don't want to strengthen the left on the right. So you put it down, and now you pick it up with the right hand. And then you do another 3.
When you read the books of Rav Mutzaf, anything in life, he tells you not to pass from the left should pass it to the right.
Exactly.
Because it to kill the Yetzirah.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay. 16. Our sages taught that when less than a revi'it of water is poured on both hands, it is necessary to pour water on the hands a second time before performing the Netillat Yadayim. One's hands are considered to be tameh. Our sages instituted a rule necessitating one to purify the hands before eating bread. When pouring the water on the hands the first time, he purifies the hands, but the water that was poured is still tameh. So you pour a second time and then you complete the process. Now, but if you're going to do a revi'it in one shot, he says when someone pours a revi'it or more water in his hand, right, in one hand together, not only it's purified, but the water in them also remains pure. Okay, so therefore you don't have that problem. Okay, but what happens if they're dirty? So Shulchan Aruch says if the hands are dirty somewhat, so then the person must first pour a bit of water on them to rinse off the dirt, okay, and then pour a second time to do it. Since the water remaining in the hands, right after purifying itself, is going to be Timeim, so you have to pour it a third time. That means basically, even according to Maran, if the hands were dirty, you also need 3 times. Okay, that's what he's trying to say. And according to the Arizal, it's always necessary to do 3 times, right, as we already explained above. Until here, clear?
I'm going to tell you also.
Halachat Tedzayin, Shiur Netillat Yadayim, Kol Hayad Ad Keneh Shel Zroa. So I have to do the entire hand until the wrist. Okay? So he says, and some people say, Ad Mekom Chibur Etzba'o Lekaf Hayad, right? And some people say, no, that it's only until the knuckles, right? But he says, but you still have to do it. It's proper to do it like that, which means until the Keneh Yad. And according to the Minhag Zeh, Yizahel, he told me, Da B'Shefa, כדי שלא יישאר חלק מהיד בלי נטילה. So you have to do it בשפע to make sure, with abundance, in order to make sure that you're not going to have any part of the hand that is not going to become wet. Okay? Yud Zayin. Right? 17. המקפיד ליטול ידיו עד הפרק, כפי הראוי להחמיר. נכון שיעטנה ויאמר שאינו מקבל עליו דבר זה בתורה חובה ובתורה רשות, בלי נדר, כדי שאם איזה פעם לא יזדמנו לו כל כך מים, לא יצטרך להחמיר כמנהגו, וכן ראוי להתנו בכל דבר שאדם רוצה להחמיר על עצמו. So basically like this, since right now we just said that there's a machloket, okay, and some people say this, so, and he only said it's ra'ui linhog kedat rishon, which means it's proper to be stringent. So therefore, since it's only proper, so therefore you should try to always say that it's going to be bli neder. Why? Because let's say you are in a place that now you don't have a lot of water, and then so you're going to do it until the knuckles. Look in the footnote 18. Maran and the Bet Yosef recommend making this declaration. The mamash, you make a declaration that it's going to be bli neder, that you do it all the time until the perek. Bli neder, always bli neder. So he says, he said, the Kaf HaChaim commented that this is correct according to Maran, since he did not conclude that halakha obligates washing until the actual wrist. Since it's a stringency to do so, so then you can make this declaration and then be lenient if circumstances are necessary. According to the Kabbalah, though, it's obligatory to do it until the wrist. So if it's not just a leniency, it's not a stringency to do so. So he says, therefore, you don't have to make such a declaration. Meaning like this, again, two machlokot. The first machloket that we learned between the halakha and the Kabbalah is how many times you have to wash your hands. So according to Maran, one time. If you do a revi'it one time or a revi'it on each hand one time, if it's going to be the second time, that's fine, right? In order to wash off those, the water which became tameh or whatever it is. But you never need to do 3 times unless your hands are dirty, because then the first time you're doing it just to clean the hands, and then you need another 2. According to the Kabbalah, you always need 3 times. So that's going to be a machloket number 1. Machloket number 2, but there he said mefuras, so we have to do like the Kabbalah. That's the way the Yalkut Yosef is paskening, or the Sefer is paskening. Okay? The second, that's Ben Ishchai and Kaf HaChaim, obviously makes sense. Right? The second machloket is going to be until where do you do Netillat Yadayim. So according to Maran brings down 2 shitot. Knuckles, wrist. He says, now what? It's proper to do the wrist. So therefore, if you're going to do the wrist, though, you're going to make a condition that I'm doing this bli neder all the time, but it's always bli neder. Now why? Because just in case you get stuck in extenuating circumstances and you don't have a lot of water, you do until the knuckles. The Gemara says the according to the Kabbalah, it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as doing it until the knuckles. It's always until the wrist. So because of that, it doesn't help. So you're not making a declaration. So that's going to be the second machloket. Okay, the Rishon LeZion, however, concurred with the opinion of Maran, and therefore, as explained in the footnote, and accordingly, you make this declaration, and then there's no problem. What happens if you did not say this declaration? So if someone finds out in a situation where it's possible for him to wash his hands only right until the knuckles, but he never made such a declaration, so what's going to happen then? So he says he may not be lenient even if this once, unless he does Netillat Yadayim. Since he knew that he was practicing a certainty and he did not make the declaration, it's as if that he made a neder that this is what he has to do. So if this person thought until today that the halakha requires always until the wrist, and now he just realized it, so then no, then you could you could do it without Netillat Yadayim. But basically the concept is that if you thought that was halakha, so then you never made it into neder. It was a mistake. You thought it was halakha, and now you just learned it's not halakha, so you don't need to do Netillat Yadayim. But if you knew that there's a machloket in halakha, and you could have been lenient, and then you do the stringency, so then according to this, now you have to do Netillat Yadayim. Okay? Okay, the next halakha, last one. Im ira shenatal yadav, right? Actually, no, there's going to be, Im ira shenatal yadav v'tzol kishayash b'zotav ve'lo od mayim. What happens right now? You do until the knuckles, and you don't have any water. You're allowed to make the bracha v'Netillat Yadayim, because since mi'ikar adin, you're allowed to do it until the end of the knuckles, right? V'hu adin, the same halacha would apply that a person has a makkah, right, on kaf yado, gav yado, on the on the palm or the wrist or whatever it is, and he could only do until the knuckles. He's allowed to do the bracha av al Netillat Yadayim. Says the footnote 19. Onto how much of one's hands should the water be poured? Chachamim come and they say the mitzvah Netillat Yadayim is 4 hands up until the joint. The Gemara discusses what does that mean. The Rishonim in turn debated the text of the meaning of the passage of the Rif, and the Rabbi Yonah concluded that it's necessary in the entire hand until the wrist, and that's also the Rashba and Rabbi Bachiyai. Many Rishonim, whether it's going to be Rashi, Tosfot, Ritva, Shibuleleket, Rabbi Menachem, Amidi, the Ramban, Rabbeinu Aaron Lewi, it's a Ra'ah, Sefer Truma, the Riyaz, right? So he says, however, ruled that it's until the joints. So he says where they meet the palm. What is the decision of Maran then? You have huge machloket Rishonim. What are you going to do? So Maran and Bet Yosef quotes Rambam that he wrote that they have to do it until the joints, which is until again the knuckles, without giving. Until the joint, but he doesn't give you what he means. Meaning the Rambam just wrote you down the lashon of the Gemara. But now we got a machlok rishonim. What's the pshat? So if he tells you until the joints, which joints? Remember, these are how many joints you have? You have joints here, and here, and here. You have a joint. In order to do this, you have a joint. So therefore, when he says the joint, which one does it mean? Does it mean this one, or does it mean this one? He doesn't explain the Rambam until the wrist. Yeah. So he says here, he didn't give us a clue. He then cited Rabbeinu Yerucham, who testified that the common custom follows the stringent opinion of the Rif, and Maran concluded this is the recommended solution. So he says, since we can easily satisfy all opinions, obviously that's the best course of action, right? Besides, the Gemara relates that of Chasta, he used to say, I used to wash with fistfuls of water, and Hashem gives me fistfuls of what? Of goodness. A fistful. Yes. Yeah. So he comes and he says, yeah, like this. He says, okay, fine. So then he says, suggested that he poured the water over his entire fist. Afterwards, right, Maran added that it is best to declare that one is observing the stringency as a voluntary practice and not make a neder. Okay? Now he says in the Shulchan Aruch, Maran writes that a person must wash his hands up to the wrists, but added that some poskim say that it's sufficient until the fingers, right? And he concluded with a recommendation to follow the first opinion. It seems clear from this and from the Bet Yosef and the Maran technically said it's sufficient, the second opinion, but is recommended to follow the first opinion. Okay, what about the Ben Ish Chai? So the Ben Ish Chai, he wrote that the halachah does not follow the lenient opinion in this manner. Rather, nevertheless, right, if a person has no other choice but to rely on it, he can do it, right? But he should not do the bracha of Netillat Yadayim. The Rishon LeZion complained that he said that it's not true. The halachah does not follow the lenient opinion in this manner, since Maran wrote technically the halachah follows the lenient opinion, despite the fact that many Rishonim also hold that, right? He says, fine, but that they concurred with the stringent opinion of the Rif, and the beautiful halachah pointed out, right, that we cannot escape the fact that many Rishonim rule leniently. Tumat tradition lead a principle that whenever we have a doubt regarding the halachot of Netillat Yadayim, we could follow the lenient opinion, and this appears to be the basis of Maran ruling, right, of the lenient opinion. Therefore, the Ben Ish Chai should not have written in the halakha that we don't follow the lenient opinion. It's incorrect, really, because meaning whenever you have a machloket or a doubt in Netillat Yadayim, remember Netillat Yadayim is the Rabbanan or Doraita, the Rabbanan. Since of course it's the Rabbanan, it was only the slach of truma and everything else. Remember, then it went to the human beings and was really for the Kohen and was only for the bread. So it's only the Rabbanan. So since it's only the Rabbanan, we usually go by the lenient opinion. It must be that the Rishon LeZion decided that the Ben Ish Chai felt that this halakha was decided by the Arizal HaKadosh, right? That you have to do it until the wrist. Since Arizal wrote that according to the Rif, right, and he says the Ben Ish Chai concurred with this ruling, and therefore following the principle that you always go by the Kabbalah, not like the halakha. The Kaf Chaim also did the same thing, but the Rishon LeZion rejected it, and he said upon the basic principle that whenever we're going to have a machloket, we go like the halakha. So in practice, therefore, if someone has an injury on his palm or whatever, then obviously you could still rely upon the lenient opinion. And this is halakha, although it runs counter to the Ben Ish Chai and the Kaf Chaim. Earlier in the halachot Alichot Olam, the Rishon LeZion explained that since we rule that one can fulfill the mitzvah Netilat Yadayim in this manner, one may say the bracha, right, the blessing as well. You could say the bracha as well, because again, you have the Safeh Brachol Hakel does not apply in such a case.